Welcome to week 4 for our CAD 1101 class. Here is what's on our agenda today. We're going to mix things up a little bit though, and we're going to be jumping into this rocker arm guided practice before we do some of the other things. But we are going to cover a little bit about the customization bar tonight, which you may find helpful. There's a quick calculator tool that we'll be doing within the rocker arm guided practice. There's some shortcut keys I wanted to show you about, how to use the clean screen ribbon tool, and how we can change some of our drafting settings. So let's jump into using our AutoCAD today. The first thing I want to do is our rocker arm, if you'll notice, is in metric today. So I want to show you how to open up a metric template, which is important for the very beginning. So we're going to be looking for this CAD ISO as our template. Before I jump into that, let me just do a quick little reminder of when you are trying to create an angled line in CAD. One thing that was coming through on the homework was it looked like some of you may have been using your mouse to try to find 30 degrees instead of typing something like this. And this is really important. So once you're in your line command and you start it, think of this as a big 360-degree circle, and we're trying to determine where we want it to go. So you tell CAD using the @ symbol first, once you're in the line command, hey, I want you to go 3 units angled at 30 degrees. You find that angle symbol by using your shift comma on your keyboard. That's right next to the letter M. So it would be line, @ symbol, 3, angle 30. I'll show what that kind of looks like here in a second. If you are just moving your mouse to make the mouse say 30 degrees, it's probably going to be like 30.3 or 30.7, and it won't be 30 degrees exactly, and your drawing will be off. If you have a line in the other quadrant, it's the same kind of idea, where instead of it being 30 degrees, though, it is 30 degrees. It's 30 degrees away from 180, but CAD doesn't recognize that. So instead, we think of it again, 360 degrees. This would be 150, even though it's technically 30 degrees from the 180 mark. And you would type that in, @ 3, angle 150. And then same thing if we had an angle coming down over here off of the lower quadrant. So this one is pointing at the angle of 220. This might be helpful for you. Again, pointing and clicking your mouse is easy to do, but right here, this relative polar coordinates, this is the best thing that you can be doing in order to create that angled line. All right, so back to what we were doing. We're going to take a look at opening up a metric startup template, and we're going to look at that customization bar. So let's get started with that. Back to my CAD. Now, you know that there's 3 ways that you can find your file. If I go under templates here on this startup page, and I go down to CAD ISO, that's what you're looking for, CADISO.dwt. And as a reminder, the other 2 ways are if you go under the big red letter A and you go down to new, that will pop up your templates and you can find CAD ISO here. Or if you go to this quick sheet of paper up at the top for new, it brings up the same template file. And because we're in metric, it's CAD ISO. Now, later on, when we start working with other drawings that are in inches or imperial, you got to jump back up here to this CAD. Don't forget to do that. So let's get our page started up as though we're getting ready to start our drawing today. And the first thing is, because you may be working at home and perhaps your CAD computer is not set up like our school computer, up at the very top of your screen, you should see a drop-down arrow. If you click that, yours might say show menu bar. You can click on that, and that's going to bring this entire thing up here for you. That could be helpful. So let's jump to format and go down to units to start. Now, we're going to be in decimal. Let's change our precision to 2 decimal places again. And right now, it should say millimeters. If yours says inches, you have chosen the wrong template, and you need to go back and start with CAD ISO. It is too difficult for CAD to work between inches and decimal. Could you technically change it here? Yes, but CAD will not behave properly for that. We'll go ahead and click OK. Go to Format again, down to Drawing Limits, and it wants to know that our lower left corner, it's 0, 0. And then for our upper right corner, we're just going to keep those numbers 420, 297, and hit Enter. And then we want to zoom our screen. So we'll go to View, Zoom, All. Now on my screen, I have my bottom row down here set up the way that I like it. It uses the things that I use. So yours and mine might look a little different. Like I have this drawing grid here to display it, and I can turn that on and turn that off. If you don't have yours on, you can go over to this little customization toolbar. It looks like 3 horizontal lines, or sometimes I tell my students it looks like a hamburger. But this gives you all of these things. Anything that's checked on here is down here. So if I did not have my coordinates turned on, which sometimes they aren't, it would be there. But if I wanted to see my coordinates, I could easily put that little check mark on there. The one that my students like working with the most, having on, and I do too, is line weight. So line weight is right here. This is what makes my lines look thicker than yours when we are drawing later on. You'll especially notice. So this line weight, when I turn it on, that little blue comes on. I like to have mine turned on. You do not need to do that, but here are some things that you might be interested in having turned on or turned off. Down over here, we've gone over this a little bit before, but just as a reminder, this ortho mode right here, this is going to make it so that your mouse only goes straight up and down or side to side. Whereas the one next to it is the one that I prefer using, is my polar tracking. So when I'm on my polar tracking and I go to draw a line, notice how I get that green line that pops up with my mouse. And as soon as I'm on an angle, it does not show up. So that polar tracking lets me know I'm exactly flat. If you don't have that, that may be one you want to turn on. The ortho mode forces my mouse to only go side to side or straight up and down. I can't go on an angle no matter how much I try. So I prefer my polar tracking, but you may work better with ortho. Remember, do what makes the most sense to you while you are working with this. The other thing is clean screen. So sometimes you want to make this whole thing a drawing space, and you don't want this ribbon bar up here because you're trying to just work within your space. Personally, I don't enjoy that, but some students do. So we have this down here, which is our clean screen. I'm going to click it here, and notice what happens. Everything goes away. So you could type in clean, and clean screen off is the first one that pops up. Go ahead and enter that, and everything pops right back on. So again, it's this little caret over here, clean screen, and then type in clean, and it'll pop back up. If you lose your ribbon bar for whatever reason, if you typed in ribbon, this would bring just the ribbon back, but it wouldn't bring all of this stuff down here if you were on clean screen. So next on our list are these shortcut keys that you might find helpful. AutoCAD is pretty nice where they have a few keys that if you type in, it'll automatically bring up a command or turn something on and off. So for example, if you click on your F8 button on your keyboard, it will turn that ortho mode on and off. So if I'm on ortho mode, or I'm in my line command and I want to be in ortho mode, if I click that F8 button on my key, notice what it is. Now I can only go straight up and down or side to side. And again, if I click F8 again, it turns it off for me. So there are a few other things too. This is on page 229 in your textbook here. So if you are looking for example, you want to type in the letter A and hit enter, that'll bring up your arc command. If you type in L and hit enter, that'll bring up your line command. Q is for saving. So that works well for things like the line command. I could type in the letter L and hit enter, and now I can draw my line. It doesn't work quite as well for arc A and hit enter. And notice it only lets me choose either the start point or center point of this. Whereas if I do my pull down menu for arc, I have so many other options available. So some things it works a little easier with than others. Still a good command to use if you needed to. Helpful when you forget what you need to do, but you know what you want, so you just type it in. AutoCAD's gotten so much better over the years about that. And remember, if you ever get stuck in a command, hit escape a few times. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 escapes to get out of that command. Let's see what's on our agenda next. And it looks like we're going to start off on the rocker arm guided practice. So I'm going to let you pull that up on your in your books. All right, we are starting on page 210 in our book for us to start in the rocker arm tutorial. So we've already started in metric, which was starting on page 29 if you wanted to go through starting from scratch. But we are going to start with however we had it here. The one thing it did want us to change is our precision. So we're going to go to format. We're going to go down to units, and we're going to change the precision to 0 instead of 0.00. Click OK. And we are going to, it has a setting up the snap grid on this, so let's go ahead and do that. At the bottom of our screen where the snap mode is, we can right click on that and click snap settings. So right click on the dots down below, and it wants our grid spacing to be 10 for both X and Y, which I have that on there. We're going to switch our display on. So to put that little click on there, we're going to do our 2D model space click on there. We're going to click our grid, F7, and then we're going to click OK. So snap equal X and Y, 10 and 10, check mark on the grid, and check mark on the 2D model space. Go ahead and click OK here. Now you can see I have all these little dots in the background. The next thing is they want us to change up our drawing limits a little bit. So we're going to go down to format. We're going to go down to drawing limits. And it wants for our first setting, instead of it being 0, 0, we're going to type in negative 200. So minus 200, comma, minus 150, and hit enter. And again, I'm following right through the book. I'm on page 211. And then in the upper right corner, it's 200, comma, 150, and hit enter. What that's going to do for us is have our little UCS symbol here be the very center of our page. Under the menu bar, we're going to go to View, down to Display, and down to UCS icon, and origin. We want to make sure it's check marked on. So mine was already checked on. Hopefully yours was too. If not, all you have to do is click it and it will turn it on. And then we're going to go to view again, down to zoom, and this time go down to extents. So that's just reshifted our screen, and now we have our UCS symbol right here. You can read more about the UCS symbol on page 212, but I'm going to skip on through that. It wants us to create a circle using the center radius command. So I'm going to go circle, center radius, and it wants us to select the origin. So I'm going to click right on the origin here. Oh, it doesn't like that. So I'm going to type in 0, 0 and hit enter. And then in the command prompt, it wants us to set the radius to 50. So just type in 50 and hit enter. Now, it wants us to select 70, 40 as the absolute values when we do this again. So they ask us to hit the spacebar. If you hit your spacebar on your keyboard, it just takes you directly back into whatever the last command was. You could also just click on circle radius to bring you right back to what we're doing. So regardless, we want to be in our circle center radius command, and we're going to type in 70, 40 for our coordinate values. You can see now I'm up here, and we're going to set our radius to 25. We're going to do this exact same thing again, except our coordinates are going to be different. They're going to be -50, -60. So I'm going to right click on my mouse and hit repeat circle, or you could come up here, or you can hit your spacebar. And my coordinates are -50, -60, and hit enter. And our radius is again 25. Now we're on page 214. So at this point, it wants us to introduce a new toolbar. So we're going to go all the way up to the top again. And we're going to go to where it says Tools. And we're going to drop down to Toolbars, to AutoCAD. And we're going to drop down to Object Snap. So these little object snaps, we've used these before, believe it or not, but we've typed them in. And I'll show you in a moment what that looks like. But these are hopefully going to be helpful. They're kind of like this down here. It's an extension of this. So the first thing that they are going to have us do is turn off our snap grid. So we're going to just click on this little blue box down here and turn that off. And you can either keep that grid mode on, or you can have it turned off in the back, whichever you prefer. I'll turn mine off for now. And we're going to go to our line command for our toolbar, and it wants us to go to the snap command. So the tangent command. So previously we did this a week or two ago, and we typed in tan and hit enter, and that allowed us to go to tangent. This just removes us typing it out. So I'm going to click on snap to tangent, click on a circle, click on my tangent snap command again, click on the circle, and it will put it wherever we want it to go. The same thing could be done. I'll delete this out just to show you the alternate method. You go to your line command and you type tan and hit enter, click on your circle, tan, and hit enter again, and click on your other circle. It's the exact same thing. They're both just tangent to each other. And that's going to bring us over to page 216. So it also wants us to do that on this one. So again, I'll go line, tangent command, click on my circle, tangent command, click on my circle. Pops it right where we want it to go. The next one wants us to create a tan radius circle. So that's going to be a circle that is tangent to this arc and this arc. So under our circle command, if you drop down, there is a tan radius command that we can use. So we'll do that. We're going to click the bottom end of this smaller circle and the side of this bigger circle. And you're going to type in with your radius here, you're going to type in 50 and hit enter. So now I have a circle. It's tangent to both of these. We're going to do the same thing down below here, but this time the circle will be 40. So again, circle, tan radius, click on one arc, click on the other, and type in 40. Now we can use the trim command. So I'm going to do the proper way to use trim, and then I'm going to show you a shortcut. So trim, and you want to choose your boundary. So I only want this little piece in here. So I need to use this and this as my boundary. Hit enter, and then click the outside of your circle. I'll do again over here for these. Okay, so trim, I only want this little piece, so I need this to be a boundary and this to be a boundary. Hit enter and click the outside of your circle. Now, the shortcut to this is you go to trim and you just hit enter before you click anything. And that allows everything to be a boundary. Now, sometimes this works better than others. If you have a lot of things that need to be trimmed, sometimes using the boundary is the better option, and sometimes it's not. So use that shortcut with caution for yourself. That's going to bring us over to page 221, where we're going to be using the polygon command. Again, we did that with our geometry construction packet over the last week or two. So again, it's hiding underneath our rectangle bar. You got to use that little caret and go to polygon. It wants to know how many size, so we'll type in 6 and hit enter. And our coordinate, and we're going to start off with 0, 0 and hit enter. And it wants to know if we are going to be inscribed or circumscribed, and we are going to be circumscribed. Notice it's following my mouse. And it wants to know the radius of our circle. In this case, it's 30. Type in 30, and that puts it right in for us. That is now going to lead us on to page 222. And it wants us to repeat the polygon. Again, you can do this either by clicking the polygon. You can hit your spacebar or right-click and repeat. And this time, it's going to be a 4-sided figure, so type in 4 and hit enter. And the center point, if you come up to the top here on our OSNAP bar, we're going to click on the one that looks like a circle inside of a circle, and then go over to this upper right circle and click that center point. This one is also circumscribed about the circle. And the distance for this one, they want us to select one of the grid points next to the center. So I got to turn my OSNAPs in my part back on. So you're just going to go over one of our little points on here. Notice I turned on the grid and my object, my snaps and my grid so I could see what I was doing. And I just go one block over and click. The next thing that I want us to do is to create a concentric circle. I'm at the top of page 223. So we're going to go to circle center radius. And again, I'm going to go to my radius tool. And I'm going to click right on the center point of my circle. And this time I'm going to type in the number 10 and hit enter. This is when we can start using our quick calculator that we can measure distance and angle. There's a couple of ways that you can measure something. I tend to use this tool a lot, this measure. I don't use the quick as often as I do distance or angle or radius. I do use these often. So the distance tool on this one is, I need to turn off my grid here. Endpoint to endpoint, and that's going to tell me what my distance is. In this case, it says 77. But that's because I've rounded up. We don't have any decimal points. So if I want to know the exact size to this, I'm going to go into my calculator. So if you right-click on your mouse in this drawing area, so not up in the ribbon tools, just somewhere in this space, you right-click and you go to Quick Calc. And you're going to get this little calculator that pulls up for you. And you can find out the length of that line. So if we go to our measure tool right here, the distance between 2 points, I can again choose endpoint to endpoint. And now look, that number is a little different, 76.6485482. So is it close to 77? Yeah, you rounded up to it. But that this doesn't allow us to know the exact length of line without using something like this calculator tool. It wants you to do it again. I'm going to go to my clear option, and it wants us to do it again from the center of the circle to the center of our to the center of our origin here. There we go. I had to click on the grid to get it to turn back on to allow me to snap to it. It's fussy. So that gives me a little different number right there. We can also use this to measure an angle. So if I wanted to know what the angle was, I could go, again, they want us to use our O snaps up here, snap to the end point, turning that snapper off, end point to end point here, and that's going to give me this particular angle here. And this one, the rocker arm is basically done. All we have to do is save this. Don't forget to put your name on it. When we're working with metric, we're going to have our name be 3 millimeters. So I will go to my big white letter A. This is already set to 3, so we don't have to change the text height. Put your name in all caps and the drawing name for me on here. And go ahead and save it and upload it to the D2L. So the next thing that you're going to do is this geometry construction. If you go onto our D2L, you are going to find right at the very top here, this geometric construction. Go ahead and download this file. You click on it just as a quick reminder. You click on download here, and then when it pops up down below, you'll click on this file down below here. So pull that up, and I have written a few notes on my copy. You don't have the same notes, but this you will do on your own. It's starting on page 3-6 in your book, and I've already drawn out some of these items here, and it walks you through how to create, for example, a perpendicular line and bisect it by moving it to the midpoint. We've done that already. One that we really haven't done is bisecting the angle, and I wanted to show you how you could use that. If you go under this draw tool, this little caret here, and you pull down, there's a construction line command, and you click on that, and at the bottom this pops up. Go to bisect. And then it wants to know the vertex point, so you click on B, and then we're going to click A and C, and take a look. It puts it right in the middle for us. So hit escape. I thought that was pretty cool. It's going to go throughout your whole drawing. Don't worry one bit about that. The transferring of an angle one can be a little tricky, but it gives you those walkthrough points completely on here, so you'll be able to copy and move it over and rotate it as you need to. Dividing the line, we've used divide before, and it does not tell us what number to put it in. In the book, it tells you to divide it into 5. So you'll use your divide command, remember, to type it in, or you may be able to find it on the ribbon toolbar. Your circle through 3 points, kind of a cool thing. Under your circle command, we have a 3-point command, and you'll click on that, and then A, B, and C. And then for our line tangent to the circle, use your line command, start it at A, and again, you can come up here to your tangent snap and click right onto it. Kind of a nifty thing. And the last one is given a radius of 3, create a circle tangent to 2 lines. Again, kind of cool, tan radius. It doesn't have to be arcs that we're being tangent to. So you go to that, you click on each of your lines, and then you type in your number. And so when you're done with this, you'll upload this one into the D2L, and we'll be done with that. And then the last thing on our list that we have for homework is the gasket design tutorial, which is on page 322. It does walk you through it. This goes back to our regular inches. So as you are looking at this, how I would start this. Remember to start in regular ACAD. So ACAD.DWT, not ACAD ISO. When you are starting this, make sure that you don't click this little plus sign here. That plus sign will probably start you in metric. So go back to the start and go to ACAD, plain old regular ACAD. Not sure if you picked the right one. Remember to come down to format, go to units, and check. Right there it says inches. So if I were going to start this drawing, one of the things that I probably would do, I always like starting with my center points. So I would start probably with where my circle is, and this circle lines up with this top line here. I probably will start with drawing my outside shape, and then I would probably convert it into a polyline, a P line, by typing in P edit. You click on it. Do you want to turn it into one? Yes. And then hit enter and select all the lines to join them together. And then I would offset it to the inside by that 0.5. See that TYP there? TYP means typical. It means that all of these thicknesses all the way around are 0.5. So once I've offset it to the inside, then I'll come in and I'll use my fillet command to do this. So once I go to fillet, remember you have to go all the way to the bottom right away, click on radius, change the radius to 0.5, and then click those two lines, and then you should be good to go. You don't have to put any of these dimensions in for me, and the book does a pretty good job of walking you through. I would say that there's a part right here where it gets a little confusing. You can see over here they got this little extra piece of line sticking out. So either draw it according to what you see here, or you can follow the guides in here. As long as the end product looks exactly like this, you're okay. And of course, upload that to the D2L. Feel free to contact me with your questions. Email me,